wax doll skin, sunken kind of glaring eyes. His wire-rimmed glasses gave him an impatient schoolboy look. At 6 feet he was lanky, lean, slightly round-shouldered like he'd been stooping over a desk all his life. He hurried purposefully yet blindly, as if somebody was calling his name. His clothes were conservative, somber, nothing a typical Niagara Falls tourist would be wearing. A white cotton dress shirt, open at the throat, unbuttoned dark coat and trousers with a jammed zipper, like the poor guy had gotten dressed real fast in the dark. The man's shoes were dress shoes, black leather, polished, like you'd wear to a wedding or a funeral. His ankles shone waxy white, sockless. No socks, with fancy shoes like that? A giveaway. The gatekeeper called out, "Hello?" but the man ignored him. Not just he was blind, but deaf, too. Anyway, not hearing. You could see his mind was fixed like a bomb set to go off. He had somewhere to get to, fast. In a louder voice, the gatekeeper called out, "Hey, mister, tickets are 50 cents. But again the man gave no sign of hearing. In the arrogance of desperation, he seemed oblivious of the very toll booth. He was nearly running now, not very gracefully, and swaying as if the suspension bridge was tilting beneath him. The bridge was about 5 feet above the whitewater rapids, and its plank floor was wet, treacherous. The man gripped the railing to keep his balance and hauled himself forward. His smooth-soled shoes skidded. He wasn't accustomed to physical exercise. His shiny round glasses slipped on his face and would have fallen if he hadn't shoved them against the bridge of his nose. His mouse-colored hair, thinning at the waxen crown of his head, blew in wan, damp tendrils around his face. By this time, the gatekeeper had decided to leave his toll booth to follow the agitated man, calling, "Mister! Hey, mister! Mister, wait!" He'd had experience with suicides in the past, more times than he wished to remember. He was a 30-year veteran of the Falls tourist trade. He was in his early 60s, couldn't keep up with the younger man, pleading, "Mister, don't! God damn, I'm begging you! Don't!" He should have dialed his emergency number back in the toll booth. Now it was too late to turn back. Once on Goat Island, the younger man didn't pause by the railing to gaze across the river at the Canadian shore, nor did he pause to contemplate the raging, tumultuous scene as any normal tourist would do. He didn't pause even to wipe his streaming face or brush his straggly hair out of his eyes. Under the spell of the falls, nobody mortal was going to stop him. But you have to interfere, or try. Can't let a man or a woman commit suicide, the unforgivable sin, before your staring eyes. The gatekeeper, short of breath, light-headed, limped after the younger man, shouting at him as he made his unerring way to the southern tip of the little island, Terrapin Point, above the Horseshoe Falls. The most treacherous corner of Goat Island, as it was the most beautiful and enthralling. Here the rapids go into a frenzy, white, frothy, churning water shooting up 15 feet into the air. Hardly any visibility, the chaos of a nightmare. The Horseshoe Falls is a gigantic cataract, a half-mile long at its crest, 3,000 tons of water pouring over the gorge each second. The air roars, shakes, the ground beneath your feet shakes, as if the very earth is beginning to come apart, disintegrate into particles down to its molten center, as if time has ceased, time has exploded, as if you've come too near to the radiant, thrumming, mad heart of all being. Here, your veins, arteries, the minute precision and perfection of your nerves will be unstrung in an instant. Your brain, in which you reside, that one-of-a-kind repository of you, will be pounded into its chemical components, brain cells, molecules, atoms, every shadow and echo of every memory erased. Maybe that's the promise of the Falls? The secret? Like we're sick of ourselves, mankind. This is the way out. Only a few have the vision. 30 yards from the younger man, the gatekeeper saw him place one foot on the lowest rung of the railing, a tentative foot on the slippery wrought iron, but the man's hands gripped the top rung, both fists, tight. "Don't do it, mister! God damn! The gatekeeper's words were drowned out by the falls, flung back into his face like cold spit. Near to collapsing himself, this would be his last summer at Goat Island. His heart hurt, pounding to send oxygen to his stunned brain. And his lungs hurt, not only the stinging spray of the river, but the strange metallic taste of the air of the industrial city sprawling east and north of the falls, in which the gatekeeper had lived all his life. You wear out. You see too much. Every breath hurts. The gatekeeper would afterward swear he'd seen the younger man make a gesture of farewell in the instant before he jumped. A mock salute, a salute of defiance, as a bright, brash schoolboy might make to an elder to provoke. Yet a sincere farewell, too, as you might make to a stranger, a witness to whom you mean no harm, whom you wish to absolve of the slightest shred of guilt he might feel for allowing you to die when he might have saved you. And in the next instant the young man who'd been commandeering the gatekeeper's exclusive attention was simply gone. In a heartbeat. Gone over the Horseshoe Falls. Not the first of the poor bastards I've seen, but God help me, he will be the last. When the distraught gatekeeper returned to his booth to dial Niagara County Emergency Services, the time was 6:26 a.m., approximately 1 hour after dawn. The bride. 1. No, please, God, not this. The hurt, the humiliation, the unspeakable shame. Not grief, not yet. The shock was too immediate for grief. When she discovered the enigmatic note her husband had left for her, propped against a mirror in the bedroom of their honeymoon suite at the Rainbow Grand Hotel, Niagara Falls, New York. Ariah had been married 21 hours. When in the early afternoon of that day she learned from Niagara Falls police that a man resembling her husband, Gilbert Erskine, had thrown himself into the Horseshoe Falls early that morning and had been swept away, vanished so far without a trace, beyond the Devil's Hole Rapids, as the scenic attraction downriver from the falls was named. She'd been married not quite 28 hours. These were the stark, cruel facts. I'm a bride who has become a widow in less than a day. Ariah spoke aloud in a voice of wonder. She was the daughter of a much revered Presbyterian minister. Surely that should have counted for something with God, as it did with secular authorities. Ariah struck suddenly at her face with both fists. She wanted to pummel black in her eyes that had seen too much. God help me! You wouldn't be so cruel, would you? Yes, I would. Foolish woman, of course I would. Who are you to be spared my justice? How swift the reply came. A taunt that echoed so distinctly in Ariah's skull she halfway believed these pitying strangers could hear it. But here was solace. Until Gilbert Erskine's body was found in the river and identified, his death was theoretical and not official. Ariah wasn't yet a widow, but still a bride. 2. Waking that morning to the rude and incontrovertible fact that she, who'd slept alone all her life, was yet alone again on the morning following her wedding day. Waking alone, though she was no longer Miss Ariah Juliet Luttrell, but Mrs. Gilbert Erskine, though no longer the spinster daughter of Reverend and Mrs. Thaddeus Luttrell of Troy, New York, piano and voice instructor at the Troy Academy of Music, but the bride of Reverend Gilbert Erskine, recently named minister of the First Presbyterian Church of Palmyra, New York. Waking alone, and in that instant she knew. Yet she could not believe. Her pride was too great, not allowing herself to think, I am alone. Am I? A clamor of wedding bells had followed her here, hundreds of miles.